At Stiles Electric, we believe in doing the job right every single time. Since 1999, we've built a reputation for being reliable, professional, and experienced across commercial projects throughout East Texas. And right now, we're growing. If you're an electrician or looking to start a career in the electrical trade, we want to hear from you. At Stiles Electric, you're not just another employee, you're part of a team that takes pride in its work and its people. Join a company where service speaks for itself. Apply today and power your future with Stiles Electric. Here in East Texas, every story matters, and Right Team Services is here to help you tell yours. From grant writing for local schools and nonprofits to social media, press releases, and website content for small businesses, we're proud to serve the people and communities right here at home. Clear, professional, effective. If you've got something to say, we'll help you say it right. Right Team Services, serving East Texas one story at a time. Well, it is Fast Break Friday from the Press Box here on the Right Team Podcast. It's Friday, March 27th of 2026, and we are coming to you live from deep in the piney woods of East Texas, as we always do every morning here on the podcast. My name is David Weaver. I am the host of the Right Team Podcast, and as always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host, the sports director of KMHT 103.9 FM, the heartbeat of East Texas, and the pastor of Friendship Baptist Church in Marshall, Texas, Brother Matt Paul. Matt, we were talking a lot of action last night in basketball, I know, and our texts were not going back and forth because I think we were in our fields last night when it was all said and done. I don't know about you, but I had a rough night.
Yeah, it was about what I expected. Arizona's really good, and we're a good team, but we're not a very good defensive team. And I think one thing that's curious is because of us, I think everybody now thinks Arizona is the prohibitive favorite because of how well they played. I do want to point out we're a really good, and Andrew and I talked about this, we're a really good offensive team and a mediocre at best defensive team. And when you have wide open shots all night, it's easy to look good if you're a good team. It's easy to look really good if you're a good team. I expect Arizona-Purdue to be a very different game. I still think Arizona's the favorite in that game. That'll be a very different game. But yeah, it did not take long for me to see where that one was going last night. And so being that I anticipated it could have been worse, as you well know.
Yes. Well, we'll get into that here in just a second. Let's start with, for lack of a better term, the lesser games in terms of our particular interest or mine. But there were some really good games and a lot to talk about here, which we are, again, this is Fast Break Friday. We're just kind of bounce around and talk about what comes up. We don't necessarily have a format here to follow on this day, but let's start out with the Iowa-Nebraska game. First of all, this game started, I believe, 30 minutes after the Texas and Purdue game and ended probably 10 or 15 minutes faster. That's one thing that we'll talk about when we get to that one. But, man, what a game if you're Iowa. I had to go to a junior high choir concert, of all things, last night to support my wife. And so I was kind of watching in the middle of the concert. I've got ESPN open and just following the scores. And then I get back in the truck. I'm racing home to try to catch the Texas game and turn on the local radio station, and they're playing Iowa and Nebraska. And so Nebraska seemed to be controlling that ball game. And so I got caught up in the Texas game when I got home, not really following the other one, even on the scorebook at the top. I was just locked in. And then at the end of the game, you finally look up, and Iowa's won this thing. And I'm like, wow, what kind of rally was that? What was your take on that contest? Again, two Big Ten rivals going at each other, the two corn schools from the Midwest. I mean, but Iowa now is the reigning Cinderella left in this thing, and as a 9 seed.
Yeah, of course, Andrew and I both picked Iowa in that game, so I wasn't shocked that they won. I was maybe a little shocked how they won, but that Ben McCollum's a really, really good coach. Like he's won everywhere he's been. He came to Iowa after going 31-3 at Drake. He won multiple, I think it was D2 titles at Northwest Missouri State. He's a really, really good coach. In fact, he's a name that's going to be floated at North Carolina if they strike out on a couple. If Kansas comes available, he's going to be floated. And guess what? If Kansas or North Carolina pluck a big coach from someone else, that team's now maybe going to look. I mean, he's a name that's going to be out there, and deservedly so. And Bennett Sturts has been the starting point guard and played, I believe, all 120 minutes in 3 NCAA tournament games, handling the ball the whole time, and has 1 turnover, I think, in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's a formula for success. I mean, it's just really impressive. Going to be a whole nother challenge now, but just really impressed, but not surprised that Iowa won that game. Maybe how they pulled away at the end.
Nebraska had an 11-point lead late in the first half, and that was the portion I was actually getting in on the radio broadcast. And Iowa, of course, closes it to 3 by the half, and then they just run away with it in the second half. A 9-point, they beat them by 9 points, 34-25 in the second half. And one of the most controversial plays that they'll be talking about for a while in the tournament. Nebraska tries to play defense with 4 players on the floor. And it didn't work so well for them, did it?
Yeah, I thought about that on my back page, but I figured we'd end up talking about it here. But it's hard coaching. There's no doubt about it. At any level, it's hard. There's so many balls you're juggling. But to have a moment like that, your season on the line, there's 56 seconds to go. Iowa's inbounding ball. Iowa's up 3. This thing is slipping away from you. You're probably panicked. You're probably thinking we've got to do something to the time is now. The ship's got to be righted now. And you trot out there out of a timeout with only 4 players on the floor. And Hoiberg took responsibility for it. His player was asked about it. He wouldn't let the player answer it. So I don't know if he's just kind of throwing himself under the bus when the player should have done. I don't know. I mean, it does ultimately fall on him, but man, David, that's a mistake that cannot happen. I mean, you just you get caught up in the X's and the O's and the strategy and the most basic thing. Who are our 5 that are going to be out here? And you've only got 4 in what ends up being the play that pretty much decided the game. That was rough.
You have to think at that level, there is an assistant coach that's responsible for counting players on the floor. Just a basic count job. I saw some disgruntled tweets last night. One of them was pretty funny. When did Matt Rule join our basketball staff? But that is a inexcusable error, especially at the time of game it was. I mean, it results in a 3-point play, and of course you're in a tight ball game in the Sweet 16 against a conference rival. That just can't happen. It just cannot happen. And but I have to think, based on my experience around college basketball and working, at the smaller levels, obviously, but you've got an assistant coach or a student coach or somebody over there that their basic responsibility is to count how many players we have on the floor at any given time. Not to mention the fact that most referees help you out in that. And they say, Coach, you only got 4, right?
Yeah.
That happens a lot too, even in high school. For somebody dropped the ball last night, and it was an embarrassing way for Nebraska's season to end after they had built, such a good potential ending for themselves with those 2 wins in the first 2 rounds. So anyway, hats off to Iowa. They continue their run. And we'll see what happens in the Elite 8. The other big game of the night, they're in Houston. We'll stay in that region, the South region, Illinois and Houston. And this was actually the game of the weekend for me, at least in the Sweet 16 round. because of these two teams and the way they were playing. It was a 2 versus a 3. I think you and I both had Houston going to the Final Four, and I didn't see this one coming, even though I know Illinois is a really good basketball team. But man, they went into Houston in their own backyard and really dominated that basketball game.
And played Houston style of ball, doing it like it was an ugly game. And to me, this was even before Florida was eliminated. This was going to be the deciding factor in who went to the Final Four from this region. I did pick Houston, but not because I just thought I had to pick somebody in this game. And I'm not surprised that Illinois won. I saw this going either way. It's funny. After watching Vocatitis at Texas, after watching Arizona had a Kravas or an Eastern European guy, Illinois is chock full of them. I mean, they joke that they're like the Serbian national team. I mean, they are chock full of them. Arkansas fans left and right last night as we were getting just pounded inside. We're posting on social media, portal needs, go get the best 7-foot Eastern European guy you can find. That is the answer right now. And Illinois has a stable of them, and some of them are physical inside. Some of them are these 6'10" dudes that just shoot threes. And Illinois is a very scary team. I do not think that. I mean, I'm not going to put anything past Iowa and Ben McCollum, but I really like Illinois. And the two best looking teams right now are Arizona and Michigan. Well, they're on the same side of the Final Four. I see a word like in my mind right now, Illinois is the favorite to reach the national title game to face either Arizona. And I'm not going to put Purdue out yet. I picked Purdue to go to the Final Four, so I'm not going to say they're done yet. But Arizona and Michigan are the favorites over there. I think Illinois is the favorite. Whether they're playing Duke or St. John's or Michigan State or Connecticut, I would take Illinois in that game. That was a huge win last night.
And I've said it before, and I'm going to sound somewhat hypocritical when I get to my analysis of the Texas-Purdue game, but I love the way Houston plays, even though it can be ugly at times to watch, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
I love the effort, the constant effort that these guys put forth, and obviously it comes down from their coach, who has won me over. I was anti-Kelvin Sampson until probably the last 5 or 6 years. The job he's done at Houston, he's resurrected that program into a national powerhouse. And I'll be honest, I was shocked. I had them in the national championship game.
Yeah.
And so, it was disappointing in that regard to see my bracket finally get busted. They're the first of my Final Four teams to go down. But man, what an impressive, just literally going into a home game in Houston in the Sweet 16 and doing what they did. This game was not as close as the final score indicates.
No, it was not.
It was one of those things. And man, I agree with you. Illinois looks pretty good right now. And it's tough to see anyone on this side of the bracket anyway that's going to be able to beat them and keep them out of that national championship game. And that's with Duke and UConn still fighting it out, right?
And Michigan State. I mean, like you've got a handful of them, man. I tell you.
Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to the Illini as they are now in the Elite Eight, and of course we'll be playing Iowa and an All Big Ten final in the South region of all places. You
three Big Ten teams won last
Yeah, and
night.
I was going to mention that at the end, but I mean, what are the chances here that we see an all Big Ten Final Four?
It's
conceivable. It is very conceivable. Michigan State, of course, and to me, they've played as well as anybody in the tournament through their first 2 games, and certainly have an opportunity to come out of the East. And we all know about Michigan. And so, you got Illinois, you got Purdue playing for a shot to go to the Final Four, and I mean, it's very conceivable sitting here today that we have an All Big Ten Final Four.
Yeah, there's a chance. I still, after watching Arizona last night, if that was if that was more about Arizona than Arkansas, then Arizona is going to be a tough out. If that had more to do with Arkansas's struggles on defense, then Purdue's got a shot in that game.
Well, speaking of that game, and you've already touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about it here for just a couple minutes here again on Fast Break Friday. Look, I have Arizona winning my bracket. I was not surprised at all that they beat Arkansas. The way that they did, the way Arkansas was playing, is pretty eye-opening. It kind of reinforces my bracket, if you will, as far as the final, the champ. To put up 109 in a college basketball game at the Division I level in the Sweet 16 of all places, for a 35-2 team. And again, those two losses came back to back in the regular season, and then that was it. I mean, just a weird week they had. But outside of that, 35 wins and to just completely, throw up 50, the consistency of it, 54 in the first half, 55 in the second half. Arkansas had no answers at all.
None.
And that's Acuff, having a big night. Still, man, I love that guy. He may actually be my number one guy at this point as far as my Mavs in the draft. Outside of, falling lucky again in quotes, getting to the top of the lottery. But he just continues to impress me. And he's still just a kid. I mean, he's just, he's a teenager, I think, right? So, he gave everything he had last night. It just wasn't enough. They just could not defend the Wildcats. And you've said all you need to say about it.
I don't need to talk anymore about it. If you want me to, I will.
Well, I'm trying to see how deep the hurt goes, if there's any.
It really isn't, and I think I was kind of clear on this back in yesterday's podcast, but I really just kind of feel like it felt like we kind of reached our goal. We kind of reached our max of what we could do. Obviously, if Arizona had gotten bumped out, then maybe it was a terrible matchup for us. It just really, really was. But you have the SEC Player of the Year. You won the SEC tournament. Like, at the end of the day, it's a really good year. And that's the thing. We live in a society where it's like, well, you didn't win the championship, you didn't have a good year. Come on. That's an impressive year. I'm not mad about it. I'm on to next year where we got the best guard in the country coming in. It's John Calipari with a guard. So let's go hit the portal. Let's go see what we can figure out. That's where I am.
Rah, rah, rah. I like that.
Yeah.
Coming from the Hogs. I love that. I'm not going to have that this morning, Matt. I'm going to have some sour grapes. And I apologize if I go on a little bit of a rant here. Of course, my Horns, their Cinderella run ended last night in heartbreaking fashion with a 79-77 loss to the Purdue Boilermakers. Well, let me get your take on it first, and then I'll add my 50 cents worth.
Well, we had the Marshall basketball banquet last night, so I missed I got home in the second half, so it was not over, but obviously the game was still very much in doubt, but I didn't see the early parts. I walk in and my goodness, I mean, Texas is already in significant foul trouble, but then again, so is the big man from Purdue. There were, we were kind of torn in our house because I had Purdue in the Final Four, so I'm kind of leaning there, wanting them, but at the same time, if you're an Arkansas fan, if you're by some miracle going to beat Arizona, would you rather play Texas or would you rather play Purdue? I know who I'd rather play. So, it was kind of one of these deals where we were just watching a game and kind of just enjoying it. But Tremont Mark, who I've watched for a year at Arkansas, what a job by that kid. Not a kid. He's like 24 or something, but playing on one ankle in the second half and just you could tell the lift wasn't quite there, but it was just he's maybe the most clutch player that made it to the Sweet 16. of all the teams, just in that clutch moment. But you know, Purdue's got some dudes. We've talked about this that have been through the wars. They've had the low moment of losing to a 16 seed, and then they've had the high moment of making a national championship game. And those were the dudes that made the plays at the end when it counted.
Okay. So I'm going to preface this by saying I am a fan first. And so this is probably going to sound a little bit sour grapes, and I don't care. Okay. I did watch the game again. I got there late in the first half, probably with about 3 or 4 minutes left. Horns were playing well. I mean, they got off to a good start, and it was back and forth. This game had 16 lead changes. No one was really ahead by more than 6 at one point. I think Purdue had a 6-point lead. Okay, so you cannot go on social media after that game and today without seeing there's an overwhelm. Everyone saw what happened last night in terms of the physical play.
Yeah.
And look, I just said there's something about playing physical in basketball that I enjoy. Okay, I get
right.
it. You can't be soft and be a big time winner in basketball. It is not a soft sport. You know,
right.
It isn't. I mean, people think, well, you know, you get out there and you got men in shorts and tank tops and they're shooting a ball in a basket. No. I mean, there is some violence that goes on in this game, and I'm here for that.
Yep.
But there's a reason why we call fouls, okay? And so let me put it this way. So you never reward bad behavior in anything.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me on that? It should never be rewarded.
Agree.
So I got a school bus. A couple weeks before spring break, if you've ever been in a situation where you're dealing with children, especially in a cramped space for days on end during the school year, it gets a little bit testy, okay?
Yep.
And so a couple weeks before spring break, I came up with this idea that we were going to do what's called Dum Dum Fridays, okay? If we have a good week on the school bus, behavior-wise, at the end of the day on Friday, as I'm letting you off my bus, I give you a Dum Dum. Everybody knows what a Dum Dum is. It's a little sucker that's pretty tasty, and kids love it, okay?
Yep.
So it was a little bit of a reward for good behavior. And so the first week, I mean, we were locked in, man. I mean, I had the best kids you could ever hope to have on a school bus. Got to that Friday, every single one of them got a Dum Dum, okay?
Yep.
The week before spring break, the following week, was just the opposite. I mean, we had a couple kids get, removed from the bus. So we had fusses, we had fights, we had everything going on. It was crazy. So we get to Friday, and a couple of the little kids getting off the bus on Friday, and they say, I want my Dum Dum. I was like, there is no Dum Dum.
Yeah.
We do not reward bad behavior. And I kind of feel Purdue got some Dum Dums last night. I do. And they did not deserve the Dum Dums, Matt. Look, look, I've said this too on this podcast, and I believe it. There is no official in America that has cost the team a ball game.
Yeah.
Okay. But there is no doubt that game last night was not called the way it should have been called. Again, prefacing the fact that it took them 30 more minutes to finish a game before a game that finished 30 minutes after they started.
Yes.
So many video reviews, and every single one of them, at least two replay reviews were in question over the player that got the tip in, Trey Kaufman-Wren, the TKR. Okay.
Yeah.
Which apparently he's been at Purdue for 20 years. I don't know.
Yes.
Been there forever. And I heard it, these guys have played forever and they fine. Okay. I get it. That's the way the college game is right now. But this guy, the referees had to see the way the game was being played. And you have to call that. You can't continue to reward bad behavior. These guys, not just him, every single one of them. And they were obviously coached to do this. You're hooking guys, you're foul baiting, you're going foul hunting is what I heard it called, and I agree with that. Look, I don't blame the player necessarily for that. I mean, if you can get the call, you get it. But the referee has to call when a guy is blatantly being a bull in a china closet in the paint. I mean,
Yeah.
he's lowering his shoulder, he's throwing elbows, he's hooking guys. And then I don't know if you've seen the close-up video from the top of the backboard last night of the final play, the tip in.
Yeah.
I mean, he two-hand shoves with an elbow. I don't remember who it was underneath the basket. It may have been Swain, maybe.
I think it was Swain.
He gets shoved out from under the basket, shoved back, and I've heard people say, well, it was an off-balance tip in. I can tell you why it's off-balance. He pushed off, not to mention over the back. If you haven't seen the video, go watch it. It's very telling.
Yeah.
And the bad thing about that is, number one, it wasn't called. But number two, if it is called the way it should have been called, Texas is shooting free throws at the other end to win the game.
Yeah.
Miller's been kind of toasted a little bit after the game as to why he didn't have Boca Titus in the game.
Yeah.
I agree with his explanation for that. I'm satisfied. He said he is a big guy, but he's not one of our best rebounders. And he had 4 fouls.
Yeah.
And so, look, again, I don't want this to sound like it's sour grapes, and maybe it does. And that's okay. TKR should have not have been in the game last night. He should have fouled out. If the game had been called the way it should have been called, he should have fouled out about the 10-minute mark of the second half.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Instead, he finishes with 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 fouls. He only had 2 fouls called on him all night. And so there's that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the crybaby in me. Now I'm going to take on the fact that and I'm glad you opened the door for this with the attaboy. It was a great year. Let's move on. Okay. And it was for us, even more so, I think, probably as far as expectations and the way this team played for most of the season. To have a run like they did in the postseason was fun. Okay. There was a little bit last night. You kind of got the feeling they just kind of ran out of gas a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, credit Purdue for that. I mean, that was obviously a physical basketball game against a team that, played in their 4th basketball game in 8 days.
Yeah.
9 days, something like that. Didn't know this until after the game last night, but Jordan Pope, of course, was playing on a broken foot. I don't know if you read that. He admitted that with 5 minutes to go against Gonzaga on Saturday, he broke his foot, a clean break of his foot.
Wow.
And so everything that was going on with him this week, he was literally playing on a broken foot. And then Tremont Mark, of course, came down and mangled up his ankle last night. Still threw up 29 points for the former Razorback. Appreciate the help of y'all lending him to us there in that trade.
Yeah.
And I put this down in my notes, but the more I look at these box scores, it's really not that big a deal. I mean, but because pretty much everybody is now down to an 8-man rotation in these things.
Yeah.
Dalen Swain played 39 minutes last night, only scored 15 points. Of course, he had he kind of showed up late when they needed him, which was good. Needed him to be a little bit more aggressive in some areas, I think, of taking the ball to the basket. And he didn't do that all night long. But hey, I'm not gonna hold him for that. I mean, he's carried us all year long. I hope he comes back. I hope he needs another year of seasoning, in my opinion. If you're out there listening, Dalen, please come back. One more year. We got some NIL money. We can cover the cost of your holding off your NBA career for another year. But look, all things considered, great run by the Horns and Sean Miller. I think we got us a basketball coach in Texas, Matt. I mean, a real X's and O's guy that can be a difference this time of year.
I have no doubt that was a good hire. I'll be honest. I'm a little surprised. I mean, I know you're pleased, but I'm a little surprised I haven't heard his name associated with some of these big openings or potential openings, because it's not as if he's some young guy that's trying to prove himself at Texas. He's been at Arizona. He's been at Xavier. He's done really, really well. And so, like, I mean, say what you want, like, the reality of it. Texas is not a basketball school. Texas being a power in basketball is a foreign thing. Like, I remember when Rick Barnes led him to the Final Four, and it was like, wait, Texas? Final Four? Like, like maybe in women's basketball, but not in this. That's a guy that can make you very, very relevant on the national scene. And he just proved it in that he's moments away from maybe taking a Texas team that down the stretch, a lot of people were like, is this really a tournament team? He was moments away from taking them to the Elite Eight. So I think he is an excellent coach. I think Texas has a good one. I think it makes the SEC better, because that's another program that we're like, usually you're like, well, maybe Texas will be good this year. Now you're like, okay, how good is Texas going to be? Because we know they're going to be good. And that's a big development.
Well, we lose a lot. I mean, we lose Mark. We lose Jordan Pope. We lose Kendall Weaver, who was an unsung hero here in this postseason run. He had a little bit of an off night last night, just in terms of what he does. I don't think he played as big of an impact last night, but those are three guys you're losing. Now, again, a lot depends on if they can convince Boca Titus to, come get another year seasoning the Swain, if he can come back for his senior year. As far as a core that they have coming back, they do have a decent recruiting class coming in right now. They've got the number 2 recruit in the state, point guard Austin Gooseby, who, of course, his brother is Trevor Gooseby, the left tackle for the Longhorns. Another kid on here that I'm looking at their list, Bo Ogden out of Austin Westlake, 6'5" shooting guard. I mean, he's number 4 in the state. So they got 2 of the top 4 players in Texas coming next year. So, and then not to mention, the portal always is a big deal. There's going to be some big names in the portal. So that's the kind of thing that these kinds of runs help you with in the portal in particular. We're one shot away, 0.7 seconds away from being in the Elite Eight. And I know, Kyle Perry is he's already in the portal, I'm sure, and got some targets. So, look, it's fun. I agree with you. Texas is not a basketball school. And to be honest, this team didn't interest me until a couple of weeks ago when it looked like it was going to be bad. And then, they got on this little run. So, looking forward to next year, but man, that was a tough one last night. It was tough to watch. I could feel it coming though. You get conditioned to try and ease the pain before the pain hits you. And about the last 2 minutes, I could see something coming. I was like, this is going to be a gut punch of a loss, most likely. So, and it was, stayed up last night thinking about it.
Yeah, you don't have to talk to me about anticipating gut punches and pain. I can do a 3-hour podcast literally of the last 30 years of being an Arkansas fan that would probably make you cry.
Well, we could do a whole podcast on the gut punching losses that I've experienced in my life, starting probably with the catch in San Francisco, the 2007 division playoffs in Texas Stadium between the Cowboys and the Giants. That was a gut punch. I was actually in the stadium in 2016 when Aaron Rodgers pulled off the miracle. So I'm no stranger to that. And speaking of particular gut-wrenching losses, this may have been the worst or involved the worst. Not this one yesterday, on opening day, of course. As we transition here on Fast Break Friday to some opening day baseball discussion. I don't know how much baseball you got to watch yesterday, Matt. I know you were busy. But the Rangers gave me bad 2025 vibes yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not swayed by that because of what happened in the 9th inning. That was trash points last night. In that. And but man, it was not a very good opening day for the Texas Rangers. And I'm trying to be, it's one game out of 162. It's the first game. It's on the road against a good ball club. But I'm scared to death that this is still going to be the same team they were last year. It's bad.
You go into the 9th inning and there's no runs on the board.
You got 3 hits.
you've got 3 hits. Seager has a single. Your 52-year-old DH McCutcheon has a single, and somebody maybe somebody had an extra base hit. Actually, I think it was McCutcheon who had an extra base hit. But
he had the only extra base hit in the first 8 innings.
But it's just you're sitting there and you're like, like if they had lost 14-11, this sounds weird. I'd feel a lot better.
Positives from yesterday was Jake Berger, who hit the home run in the 9th. He had 3 hits. Okay, I mean that's a positive. We need him to be a cleanup hitter. I thought Nate Eovaldi threw the ball well. He just made a couple of mistakes that ended up getting up in the wind. And I mean, my gosh, the nail in the coffin was, of course, that 3-run bomb in the 5th that was wind aided, right? I mean, it got up in that jet stream, and it was pretty neat again to see Carter Baumler come in there and pitch out of a jam that he created for himself. And I always like to see that with fans, and I mean their family in the stands, and his first appearance, all that good stuff. But it was not a good day to be a Rangers fan at all yesterday, and I'm hoping for a little bit better, of course, outcome. See if they can win the series at Philadelphia. Kind of brings up the fact, and this has annoyed me every year, but Major League Baseball for some reason has this thing with their scheduling on opening weekend where you play your season opener and then you wait a day and you play games 2 and 3.
Yeah,
of course that's done for weather, right? I mean it's done to, in case you don't want your opening day rained out, and so you leave that open day after the opener in case you have a rain out. That makes no sense to me. What if you get rained out both days? I mean, you can't. I don't know, but that's something that Major League Baseball has always done, and it's so frustrating. You wait so long, and opening day gets here, and then the game's over, and you got to wait 48 hours to see another one, right? Do they do that in Chicago? I mean, sometimes y'all got snow on the ground up there.
Yeah, I was looking. I was starting to look at the schedule today, and then we started talking about something else. But the Astros are playing today, but no, the Cubs are not, and the Rangers. There's 3 games that are opening. The A's and Blue Jays are opening their season. The Rockies and Marlins are opening their season, and then the Royals and the Braves are opening their season. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
I can understand why the Astros are doing it, because they have a roof. I mean, there is no danger of a rainout. If this series was being played at Globe Life, they would have played 3 days in a row, probably 4 days. Well, they wouldn't play a 4-gamer against a National League team, but you don't need that. But they go to these northern cities and try to have opening day, and you have to put in a weather day in there. And I don't know. It's annoying. So the Rangers will return and play Philadelphia on Saturday. But today it's all silent up there in the city of brotherly love. So I did want to mention this game yesterday that I saw. What is this pitcher's name? Jacob Mizorowski, I think is how you pronounce that. Yeah. 20 strikeouts as a staff of the Chicago White Sox. Now, I was disgusted with the way the Rangers offense looked yesterday, but at least we didn't strike out 20 times. I mean, that is not the way you want to start, right?
I tell you, I don't know if you've ever seen that dude pitch. That dude has some wicked stuff. When he's not always on, but when he is on, if you're striking out 11 guys in 5 innings, that's pretty crazy. You're pretty locked in. And then of course you get into the bullpen, here's a guy who pitched an inning and struck out 3. Here's a guy who pitched an inning and struck out 3. They just really start adding up, but he's got some wicked stuff for sure.
Yeah. 10 teams, according to ESPN, have struck out 20 batters in a 9-inning game, just in history. Just 10 teams have done that. And the Brewers did it on opening day yesterday with a 14-2 win over the White Sox. Milwaukee's sneaky good. They're sneaky good, man. They don't get a whole lot of pub because it's Milwaukee, but they were one of the top 2 or 3 teams in baseball last year in the regular season. Just a really, really good ball club. and they've started out on the right foot yesterday. So just wanted to mention that.
Hands down, my least favorite team in Major League Baseball. It's not even close.
Yeah, you probably could tell us.
More than the Cardinals, more than the Yankees, more than the Dodgers. Dodgers beat the Brewers. Hey, I love it. I'm good with it.
Why is that? Where's the hate coming from?
So, I mean, they are a division rival of the Cubs, and they're actually a lot closer to Chicago than the Cardinals. But what has been interesting over the last, for years, and still historically, this is the case, Cubs and Cardinals, number one, it's kind of a friendly rivalry. And it's also we know our role. The Cardinals historically, I mean, the only franchise that has more World Series championships than them is the Yankees, right? Historically, the Cardinals dominate the Cubs. That's how it is. Well, since 2015, really, when the Cubs beat the Cardinals in the playoffs, there has been no competition. The Cubs are the better franchise right now than the Cardinals for a decade. But there's the Brewers. And the Brewers probably have had more regular season success than the Cubs over the last decade. But we've been to a World Series and we won it. That's kind of the difference. And so there's a regional rivalry. They're very, very close. And for the last decade, our biggest competitor in the division has not been the Cardinals. It's been the Brewers. And I can at least respect the Cardinals. The Brewers just kind of have an air about, look how awesome we are when you look at their postseason. And it's like, look, that's all well and good. It's kind of like the Aggies, like, look how awesome we are. And it's like, show me what you've done that really matters. And so that's just kind of where it is for me. I got no love for the Milwaukee Brewers.
That's a good analogy with the Aggies. As being from Milwaukee, we can just do that, right? They're similar to Milwaukee in College Station. Okay, let's return to basketball here again on Fast Break Friday on the podcast. I don't know if you saw this article yesterday on ESPN in his press conference yesterday. I believe Gino Auriemma, the coach at UConn, is going for his 13th national championship this year. He was asked a question about Title IX, okay, and some interesting comments here. Matter of fact, he leads off with the fact that you can pretty much throw Title IX legislation out the window. He thinks most of the NCAA laws have thrown it out the window along with their own laws. And I don't know, folks out there who may not know what Title IX is. It was legislation passed in 1972 that prohibits the discrimination based on sex in education programs and activities, including athletics, for institutions receiving federal funding. Basically, what all that means in Title IX is whatever you give to a men's program, you have to make available to a women's program in terms of funding and support and things like that. That's kind of basically what it comes down to. And it extends all the way down into the high school level. Title IX is a big deal, and can get you in trouble if you. And there have been some Title IX disputes and things like that, and it goes to court, and I mean it can get ugly. But this right here, I had never even thought about it. And we've talked about NIL and the effect of that on college sports in general. I hadn't really thought about its effect on Title IX, which is still an active law, obviously. But Gino here. He kind of brings it to the forefront in this question. He says, it appears to me that at the big conferences level, I think Title IX legislation is probably over. I don't know that when you say we're allocating $20.5 million per school in revenue sharing payouts, that they're going, yeah, well, women's basketball is going to get the same amount as football and men's basketball. I'm sure there's some schools that are trying really hard to stay with that in terms of numbers, scholarship opportunities for people. But when it comes time for funding and putting money into those programs, that would make you believe that it's the same. I don't see that as much anymore as I did in the beginning. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the guy's been around. He's a smart guy. I would tend to think he's probably right.
Yeah, you'd
in
have to
his
kind of
analysis.
defer to what he says. He would register as an expert on that, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things that it's the reality of it. And look, taking gender out of the equation for a moment, like you look at a Texas high school, like what sport's going to get the most money poured into it? There's no question. It's always going to be football. It doesn't matter if you're comparing to a boys or girls sport. Like it's the money maker, so it gets more money poured into it. That's kind of, I mean, money makes the world go round. That's how these things operate. Does that make it right? No. Does it make it the reality? Yes, probably so. But I mean, I would be shocked if Gino was inaccurate in what he said. I think he probably knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah. Interesting. I went back and this made me want to pull up some stats on actual funding and funding sources of college athletics. So I went and asked my friend Chat, last name GPT, to give me the numbers on this from the 2024-2025 school year. Football is estimated brought in anywhere between $1 to $1.3 billion. Interestingly enough, the NCAA got $0 of that because that's a CFP thing. Okay, the NCAA regulates college football, but they don't get any money from it. That's all CFP related now, apparently. The big contributor to the NCAA, of course, is the men's basketball tournament that's ongoing right now that we've already talked about. It brings in annually, usually anywhere from $1 to $1.1 billion. So it's very similar to what football brings in, which is kind of surprising to me. I knew it was a big deal, but to see those numbers kind of be the same is interesting to me. But the NCAA men's basketball tournament is right up there with any other premier sport in terms of a revenue generation. It's pretty much what pays the NCAA budget. You get down to women's basketball. Now, this has actually been these figures have been rising in popularity over the last few years, but women's basketball brings in, on average, anywhere from $65 to $100 million a year, depending on the year. Okay, so there's quite a difference there in terms of revenue. Okay,
Yeah,
and I'm not saying this in any way or form other than to just give you some figures here as for reference. All other sports combined, that's baseball, softball, swimming, diving, any of that stuff, volleyball, all of those combined bring in on average $100 to $200 million a year, which is just 15% of the entire NCAA budget. Okay.
yeah,
I get what Gino's saying, and I get the whole Title IX thing. I do, and I support it. I think we obviously should give equal support as much as possible. But to me, it's a little bit. You can't split it evenly. It's not an even. We can just tell from those numbers. This pie is not even. You know.
Yeah.
Some people are going to get smaller pieces of that. Now, I could argue and say, well, it's one thing per school to get, as he said, 20 point something million, whatever that figure was I read in that quote. If that's a per school thing, yes. I mean, you're going to see the major sports get more of that pie because of what I just read. Right. They're bringing in more of it. And so women's basketball is actually the number 3, according to this list, the number 3 revenue generator in college sports. But it's number 3. There's a huge difference between 2 and 3. There just is. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of Title IX. I don't know if it's in the law that it has to be split evenly, or it has to be just, enough to I don't know, to fulfill the requirements, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But when you look at those numbers, I just don't see it going that way ever. It's interesting, and I've been involved with some programs in my career that did have some Title IX issues, and you have to address those immediately. This legislation, even though he says it's not being followed, it's still a law. It'll be interesting to see if again, this is another one of those evolving things of the NIL thing that we're talking about here that is being affected by it. And I'm pretty sure the women's basketball players don't make as much money as the men do. I mean, you can see that in the WNBA, which is, just signed a new deal, a new CBA. I think it's been signed. I think the high salary there is maybe $600,000 a year or something like that now.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge gap between them and the men, but Title IX doesn't exist in pro leagues. So anyway, just something I wanted to talk about that came across my desk yesterday. I read that and sounded interesting to me. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I think if Gino is upset about it and thinks there's a problem, there probably is in women's sports when it comes to Title IX.
Agree.
Okay, that was Fast Break Friday here on the Press Box, from the Press Box, actually. Let's get to the back page portion of our show. You already mentioned that you had one thing that we've already talked about. What else do you have on your list today?
It's actually from a few days ago. I meant to mention it and forgot. I don't know if you saw that, just sticking kind of local here, that LeTourneau has hired a new women's basketball coach, and it's one of the assistants at ETBU, Morgan Garrett. So congrats to her. She was 2 years as an assistant of a ETBU program that did really well. They hosted 2 years ago. They won the conference and hosted the regionals in the NCAA. She has also coached, started her coaching career at Riverdale Academy in Coshada, Louisiana. She also had 1 year as an assistant at ETBU, where she was head developmental coach, and then also was the head basketball coach at Providence Classical Academy in Bossier City. She played at ETBU, played in 101 games, made 36 starts from 2012 to 2016. Was 3-time academic all-conference selection, twice earned ASC Distinguished Scholar Athlete. That's a really good staff that the ETBU women's squad has had over there, with Blake Arbogast, the head coach, Reed Adams, and Morgan were the assistants. Reed still is. This is not unfamiliar territory. You probably do know that the head volleyball coach at ETBU, Mallory Matthews, got her coaching start over there at LeTourneau before coming back to her alma mater. So just thought that was kind of cool, getting that opportunity. Of course, it's a little easier now because you're not having to see LeTourneau in conference games. So that makes it a little bit easier. But congrats to Morgan Garrett on that.
Absolutely. And yes, that happens a lot in this area. And it's kind of funny. You see this happening mostly LeTourneau coaches coming to ETBU, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I remember hired a baseball coach over there, Robert Riggs, who was a former Tigers baseball assistant coach. He came when the job opened. I believe he was at LeTourneau for just 1 year, and then he came back to ETBU to take that job, and that was kind of fun. And those games after that between those two, there were big rivalries at that point. But yeah, congratulations to Morgan on that career move for sure.
Yeah. And the only other thing I got, did you see the NBA is presenting 3 potential anti-tanking proposals?
Saw that. I saw that this morning.
I thought that was interesting, and I'm just reading it
I
off
don't agree with any of
ESPN.
them, but I don't like any of them.
The first proposal, 18 teams, the bottom 10 that missed the play-in tournament and the 8 that qualify for the play-in tournament, they would all be part of the draft lottery. So even if you win in the play-in tournament, get to the playoffs, you would still be potential to be in the lottery. The bottom 10 teams will all have an equal 8% chance of moving up in the lottery, with the remaining 20% of the odds being split among the 8 play-in teams. The second proposal, 22 teams, the bottom 10 that missed the play-in tournament, and the 8 that qualify for it, and the 4 playoff teams that lose in the first round would all be included in the lottery. Under that system, each team would need to reach a minimum win total floor. And I like this idea. They would establish a minimum win total floor of, say, 20. And if you go 14-68, well, for the lottery purposes, you went 20-62. So there actually is no benefit. Once that minimum floor total is set, there is no benefit to continuing to lose games. You're going to be set at, which I kind of like that. The third proposal, they call a 5x5 method, where the 18 teams from the first proposal are entered in the lottery, and the teams with the 5 worst records would then all have the same odds, with them descending from there. So they're always tweaking. They're always kind of watching out for the potential for tanking. You and I've talked about, hey, Mavs, just keep on losing. It is what it is. I'll let you in on a little secret. Tanking doesn't seem to work all that well, because the bad teams somehow just keep staying bad, because it's not about their players. It's about their ownership, and it's about their management. Tanking does not have the teams the lottery works for are when do you remember the Magic, who were pretty good with Shaquille O'Neal, and then the next year they somehow get a high pick and they get Penny Hardaway too? That's who it works for. It could work in the Mavs' favor if they weren't that bad the year before and they end up getting Cooper Flag. We'll see how this all works. But tanking to get draft picks historically, listen, you want to name the bad teams in the NBA, they were probably bad 5 years ago. They've been getting good draft picks. They're still bad.
Yeah. The Wizards have been in the top 4 of the lottery every year for the past, 10 years? And they're still the Wizards, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, that kind of thing goes on. Yeah, I still am. I mean, I would love to see some sort of tournament between the teams that don't make the playoffs. You have to win to get the top pick. And then if you don't win the tournament, your seeding is what it is. I mean, it is at that point. But I don't know. I mean, at least they're talking about it, and everyone's aware that this can't continue to go on. And I didn't realize how easy it was to lose in the NBA. You've got about at least 7 or 8 teams right now actively doing it, including the Mavs. And it's like the other night. I mean, they were a highly entertaining game. They appeared to be right in it toward the end against one of the better teams in the league, and they found some way to lose. I mean, it's like it's not as obvious as some of these other teams for sure, but yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. I'm afraid it's going to get into other sports too. I mean, NFL and things like that. We talked about a little bit about how that draft class is going to be looking next year. Who's going to start tanking this year in the Arch Manning stakes? Okay. Did you see this yesterday? The Phillies, speaking of the Phillies during opening day, they had to cancel a pre-agreement that they had with a 13-year-old. They had offered to pay this kid $1.3 million in what's called a pre-agreement, an international prospect. They don't give his name, but he tested positive for a banned substance, a steroid. So now we have not only signing 13-year-old teenagers to baseball contracts, but now those kids are actually using steroids. But that's not a surprise, unfortunately. Kids have been doing that since the steroid era. I mean, honestly. But the Phillies have canceled that agreement with that kid because he tested positive for one of these drugs. It's unfortunate.
I'm reading this thing, and you wrote down Phillies cancel pre-contract with 13-year-old for steroid use, and I can't figure out what's the most shocking part of that headline. The pre-contract that got canceled with a 13-year-old who did steroid. I mean, just sounds like some made-up thing.
And it's kind of a joke. But, you have college programs offering scholarships to kids who are junior high kids right now. And I mean, that kid can't even, do a math problem, right, most days, depending on his mood, right? He's a 7th and 8th grader. What makes you think he's going to be able to make a decision to go to Alabama for his college career? It's crazy. But, yeah, unfortunate for this kid. It makes me wonder, with Jerks and Profar, of course, getting suspended earlier this year, it kind of makes me wonder if this is still a major problem outside the United States in these international markets. This was an international prospect, so it didn't happen here. But just don't kid ourselves. It happens here. It still does, guys.
That's right.
Some high school news here. some local stuff. We kind of talked about it yesterday about some. Well, I think we were off the air, but there were a couple of head football coaches named here in our East Texas area listening area. Winona selected their new head football coach. It is the defensive line coach from Tyler Legacy. Charles Moss is the new head coach at Winona. And then in our 10-5A district, Matt, Nacogdoches names a new head football coach. It was the assistant head coach from last year. He kind of been serving as the interim head coach since the end of the season, but Jay Brown gets the Nacogdoches job. So congratulations to those two men there taking on head coaching jobs here in Beast, Texas. And then finally here on my back page, you've been following this story of the Salina ISD coaching.
Little bit, not much, not a lot.
Well, just kind of as a review, head football coach Bill Elliott, who won the 2024 state championship at Salina, just around outside the Dallas area. He had a son. His son was on his staff, and his son got removed last fall because of an inappropriate relationship with a student. And the news came out this week. Well, a couple items of news. Number one, Bill Elliott has stepped down. He stepped down several weeks ago as the head coach at Salina.
Yes.
And so they've had a coaching search. Well, they named their replacement. A man named Mark Bendel is now the new head football coach at Salina ISD. Traditionally strong program. Folks from Elysian Fields will remember the name Salina very well. Lost to them in back-to-back state championship games in the late 90s under when Chad Morris was the head coach at EF, by the way.
That's right.
But anyway, fast forwarding to this, the TA announced this week that they had revoked the teaching certification of Bill Elliott, who had already resigned, because I'm trying to find it in the story here that's on Yahoo. It appeared in the Dallas Morning News, but they've actually TA has revoked this with a do not hire, put him on the actual do not hire registry, okay, as they revoked his certification. According to the TEA website, I'm taking this from the story, teachers could have their certification permanently revoked and be placed on this do not hire registry for the following reasons. Now, we're talking about the dad here, okay? He was the head coach. Sexual contact or romantic relationships with a student or minor, possession or distribution of child pornography, criminal homicide, selling, distributing, or conspiring to distribute controlled substances on school property, causing bodily injury to a student or a minor, any offense listed in a specific section of the code, including, and then it went on to this long list of codes, this section deal. So for him to be put on the do not hire registry, it has to be a TA record somewhere that he actually was accused of doing one of these things himself, which actually adds another layer to this entire story that Salina's been battling literally all year long. His son Caleb was indicted back in February on 4 charges, including possession of child pornography and 2 counts of sexual performance of a child, which are second-degree felonies, some bad stuff at the middle school. Basically, he was caught or accused of recording boys in the locker room. And so he was removed back in the fall when this came out, and then his dad stepped down in January and stepped away. But apparently, according to what the TEA is saying, it goes deeper than that, even with the dad. So again, I don't want to speculate on any of that. That's just kind of me mentioning there's some stuff going on in Salina right now that is just very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's brutal for a community. It's brutal for families. It's brutal for the school. I mean, yeah. And again, I would caution everyone. I've been following this on Twitter the last couple of days, and be careful what you read there. It's a source of information, but 9 times out of 10, sometimes the information you always need to confirm it with another source. Okay, that's journalism 101. And there are some accounts out there that are just looking to hang anyone in public education. I'm just going to say it. And they're taking this way, way too far. And so just, again, that's just kind of from an old journalist, just be careful what you're reading. Don't believe everything you're reading, especially on social media. That's your journalism point for the day. Amen.
Just general knowledge. Be careful with that. Finally, this date in sports history, Matt, a couple of things here of interest. In 1939, on this date, this was the first NCAA men's basketball championship game. So I don't know if this was a turn. I'm assuming it was the NCAA tournament in some form. But anyway, on this date, the first NCAA men's basketball champion was crowned. It was Oregon defeating Ohio State by the score of 46-33.
Felt like we were going to get that. Felt like we were going to
Houston and Illinois last night.
Yeah, that I think that actually was the score in the second half pretty late at one point.
But, you know, if someone had asked me that as a trivia question, who was the very first NCAA men's basketball champion, probably I would have never guessed Oregon.
Yeah. I knew that they had a pretty good run back in like the 30s and 40s, but yeah, I don't know that I would have gone there for sure.
A couple of different birthdays today to talk about. Born on March the 27th, 1939, three-time NASCAR Cup champ Cale Yarborough, for all of our auto racing fans out there, was born on this date in 1939. He also won the Daytona 500 4 times in his career. Wow. He passed away in 2023, but he was born today in 1939. And then I don't normally try to put on this list of birthdays or recognize just, you know, normal everyday kind of players. It have to be Hall of Famers or someone that I would know locally, right? But this name came up, and you know, we talk about our childhood and growing up and impact players. This one was an impact player for me, okay? None other than the former NFL quarterback Randall Cunningham.
Oh, yes.
Was born on this date in 1963. To me, if you go back and you think about Randall Cunningham was kind of the precursor to the modern day NFL quarterback that we see now. The athlete, the guy with the strong arm. You know, he had all of those tools. Of course, unfortunately, he went to Philadelphia in the Buddy Ryan years, but he did end up in Dallas for a couple of seasons, if you recall that. He was a Cowboy too. So, anyway, happy birthday to Randall Cunningham. I just wanted to mention that today. I thought that was interesting. Just also kind of my memories of him as a quarterback.
He also had a 90-something yard punt at one point, and had a. Was he the quarterback at Minnesota the one year that they should have been in the?
He was there for a while. I think that was actually Dante Culpepper that got upset. I believe that 98 season. I believe
when Atlanta beat him, and
I think Dante Culpepper was the quarterback.
Yeah, the kicker who hadn't missed a kick all year missed a kick to win the game. Yeah, that was. Boy, you want to talk about gut punches? Minnesota's got some gut punches, man. Holy cow!
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I got family up there, and yeah, I like to hold that over them. My misery doesn't reach their level every year for sure. And then one notable death today, and I don't know if you remember this guy, but he made quite a name for himself in 1983. A former coach of the U, actually the coach who actually put the U on the map back in the day, Howard Schnellenberger. He passed away on this date in 2021. Of course, he's famous for the Bernie Kosar and 1983 Miami team that upset Nebraska. If you remember, on New Year's Day in the Orange Bowl, back when they used to play bowl games on New Year's Day, when Tom Osborne, of course, Nebraska was the overall number one, had been number one all year long that year and undefeated. All they had to do was beat Miami in the Orange Bowl, and Tom Osborne went for 2, and Mike Rozier got the ball knocked away there in the end zone on a 2-point conversion, and Miami won the game and the national championship. But Howard Schnellenberger, he was one of the final coaches I remember that wore an actual suit on the sidelines.
I remember that too.
Yes. Okay.
Real quick. I want to go back because you had me curious. It was Cunningham in 1998 who led the Vikings to a 15-1 regular season, 34 touchdowns with only 10 picks, threw for 3,700 yards, led the league in passer rating, and the Vikings scored a then NFL record 556 points. And he had Chris Carter as one of his top
Randy Moss. That was Randy Moss's rookie year.
And a rookie, Randy Moss. I mean, gosh, if I'm a Viking fan, I don't care that was 28 years ago. I'm still kicking myself over that.
Yeah. Well, they had some more heartbreak because I remember some more with Dante Culpepper as their quarterback. So
yeah, they did.
A couple more with that.
The only thing that probably at least saved them a little bit was the whiffed tackle by the Saints on Stephon Diggs on a touchdown that never should have happened. That at least was a little bit of redemption there, but still.
Minneapolis Miracle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. And then they go the next week, get embarrassed by the Eagles in the championship game.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. That's the way it is in Minnesota. We shout out to our Minnesota followers up there, by the way. Just a couple more things I've also seen here that I wanted to make mention of before we get to the final word. And I have to say this because I just have to. Did you see what Texas baseball did to Oklahoma last night?
Ooh, yes, I did. Holy cow.
14-0, and making them go back to the hotel early. 7 in the mercy rule in the 7th inning.
Yes.
Largest shutout win versus Oklahoma in program history. They bounced back very well from that disappointing Tuesday loss. And then this was an interesting note that I bookmarked on Twitter, since I've told you not to listen to anything on Twitter today. On Saturday, Arizona will be playing for its first trip to the Final Four since 2001 under Lute Olson. The same day, Iowa will be playing for its first trip to the Final Four since 1980 when it was coached by Lute Olson.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Interesting fact. Fact of the day here on the Right Team podcast. Now let's get to our final word, which comes from Matthew 6:3. And I don't have it written down here, Matt. Quote that for me as a pastor while I look it up.
Well, let's see. Matthew 6:3. I know it's from the Sermon on the Mount, but that's about as far as I can get.
Give us a quick Sermon on the Mount review while I look it up. I apologize.
I've got it here if you want it.
Go ahead and read the verse, and then I'll read the little devotional I wrote. But
when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you.
I should know that, right? I should know that. Just as a reminder, some of the most important work happens when no one's watching, right?
Yeah.
Stay faithful in the unseen. That's where your character is built. Okay, that is the final word in a roundabout way. We got it to you, folks, and that's usually the best part of this podcast, the Word of God, right? Yep. He's Matt, and I'm David, and this is from the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. Thank you for listening and supporting us right here from the heart of the East Texas Piney Woods. If you enjoy our show, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to check us out on YouTube at the Right Team podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook for additional content and updates you don't want to miss. By the way, before we get off the air here, I did promise the first mock draft today.
Yep.
For anybody out there. As I got to thinking about it, I didn't feel appropriate doing it on Fast Break Friday.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do that one day next week. Okay. I'm going to keep Fast Break Friday the way it is. But for any of you that out there who may have just been itching and losing sleep last night about hearing my mock draft today, we're going to do it. It's just going to be next week. Okay.
Very good.
Anyway, put that in there. We're just getting started on the podcast. We got plenty ahead for something for everyone. So stay tuned. Don't miss an episode. Big thank you, as always, to our sponsors that make it happen: Styles Electric, East Texas Baptist University, and Right Team Services. We'll be back next week with more of From the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. Until then, as always, have a great weekend. Worship the Lord Jesus on Sunday. And as always, keep writing your story.
This episode of the Right Team podcast is also brought to you by Styles Electric. For over 25 years, Styles Electric has been providing reliable, professional electrical installation and repair service all throughout East Texas and beyond. We specialize in industrial and commercial projects of all sizes. We are proud to be a part of our communities and schools here in East Texas. Contact us today at 903-236-2536. That's Styles Electric, reliable, professional, and experienced.
Did you know that someone somewhere is talking about you? Yes, your school district, your business, your church, your nonprofit group is always the subject of a conversation somewhere. Maybe it's Facebook gossip, maybe it's talk around the water cooler, maybe it's written in a newspaper or a blog somewhere. At Right Team Services, we work with you to manage that conversation more effectively, to give all of your stakeholders an opportunity to hear your message. We help you create a culture of transparency in your organization that makes your customers and stakeholders feel comfortable as part of the story, and as a result, will help your business or school district become a more effective, trusted member of your community. Contact me today at rightteamservices@gmail.com to learn more about how Right Team can help you tell your story.
The college you choose plays a defining role in what you believe, how you think, and who you become. With over 45 undergraduate programs and 14 graduate programs, East Texas Baptist University offers a transformational, Christ-centered educational experience that challenges students in mind, body, and spirit. 99% of students attending ETBU receive some form of financial aid, making opportunity accessible and affordable at ETBU. Join the Tiger family. It's not too late. Apply today at etbu.edu/apply.